And that's how we end season 2.
Yeah, sorry, but I'm half focused right now.
I need all your focus, Mr. Paul Stewart.
That's pretty much summed up the 2020 season. Oh,
yeah, yeah. Oh. Pretty much, yeah. No, not that. Pretty sums up UK Cowboys TV. UK, it's like like people do a review. UK Cowboys TV. Whoop.
Oh.
Yes, everybody, welcome. It is 9, so that means it's UK Cowboys time here in the UK. It is season 2, episode 130. So that means it is the end of season 2. Doesn't mean that it's the end. We are back right next week, but it is we're gonna take the shiny wrapping off the new show. It is all new stuff to come. It's looking very tasty. Very, very tasty. But I'm going to need your help at home, everybody, because I am outnumbered. I'm the only Welshman versus 3 Scotsmen. I know there's probably a joke in there somewhere. But this week...
Know your place.
Yeah. Hey, we're all Celts. We're all the Celtic tribe. We all wear kilts. But this week we have with us, we've got the senior cinnamon stick, and of course we've got Mr. Buckfast himself. Yeah, it is to talk about. We're talking all about another week of Cowboys news, and then looking at the 53-man roster. Try and get some ideas from yourselves as well. Tell us what you think. But anyway, enough of me babbling on. How are you guys? How are you feeling?
Nervous as fuck right now because I've got the Celtic game on right now. But other than that, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Other than that, I'm good.
Well, I apologise now in case there's any Tourette's outbursts in the middle of the...
Yeah. Full disclosure warning, everyone. If you see me reacting to something pure spontaneous of me swearing, then it's watching the soccer game of Celtic versus AC Alkmaar. So I do apologise.
Yeah. But yes, as I say, it is the end of season 2. So before we go into the news and updates, just need to say to everybody who's joined us during this season from the start, the first episode of season 2, we were hitting some snags. We hit some snags, but we got there in the end. We managed to put it all together and figure it out. And then, of course, there was I don't think we're ever going to top the 24-hour show, are we?
No, not until we.
Have you ever going to suggest 48-hour, 72-hour mic? No, it's not happening.
You never know.
No, we do.
It was great, and the most important thing was you guys at home and invited us into your homes. It was brilliant. It was amazing. We loved it, and talking to you, giving us your opinions, your thoughts, the rights, the wrongs, and all the rest of it. But yes, next week you will see it all different, all new, all singing, all dancing. And we've got some extra segments coming in on both the post and the pre-game show. So lots to look at. Same as usual, though, we'll be getting all the usual regular guests coming on, try and get some former Cowboys players as well. So there's all that to come up. Should be fun, and there's a couple of competitions. Just throw that in for good measure. But as we do every show, we start with the news and updates. So I'll start off by saying, in the vote this week, we put a vote out. Will Nick Ralston make the final 53?
Yes.
56% of you said yes. Very interesting. We are going to talk about the 53 in a little bit. So, of course, make sure you tell us who you think is going to make the roster. Maybe there's a name we mentioned and you disagree with it. That's fair enough. But in some other news, Dak officially throw in 7-on-7 and 11-on-11. In fact, earlier on today, looking at it, in 11-on-11 drills, he threw 12 times and completed 11 of them. One of them was a batted pass.
Yeah.
Go on. You go for it, mate.
No, I was going to say that the 11th pass was batted at the line. It was a safety blitz or something like that. And I think it was... no, it wasn't KZ because he's in COVID. I think it was Macramu who has just been
Mukwamu.
reactivated,
Mhm.
and he got his hand up and batted it down. So it's good to see him back out there. And I mean, you saw the pass to Cooper, you saw the pass to Jarwin as well down the sideline as well. He's looking as if he's back on form now.
Yeah.
Admittedly, you don't have the first string safeties in at the moment because, as we'll get on to, we seem to be suffering a little bit from a wee bit of an outbreak.
Yes. I mean, we'll cut into that then. So there's been 7 players this week who have been caught with the Rona. It did mean because they're not in and they don't count to the roster, when the Cowboys had to cut down from 80 to 85, the reason that we haven't seen many of those players go is because of the COVID players. They don't count. Although they did make one cut, Rico Dowdle has gone to IR. Ironically, I was going to talk about him during the Houston game. He actually ended up with that average of 5.3 yards per carry, the best out of all the running backs. But I think for him, the fumbles came into play, and that's really, what caused him to have to not make that cut in the end. As you mentioned, Israel Mukwamu, he came back. One of the reasons Rico went to IR was to make a spot for him. But also Greg Zerline came off PUP this week. He's officially back in and kicking. That means there's only 2 players on the Cowboys roster now going into the season on PUP. That's Tristan Hill and Golston. I mean, I don't know. I think they're going to carry them for that 7-week period into the season and see where we go. The new kicker that we had from going back from the CFL, he's going back. He's been waived. So that was his day in the sun done. They also, it was short-lived, they also had 4 players come in, mostly defensive tackles. 2 we've mentioned on this show before. One was PJ Hall. The other one was Daylon Mack, who, if you remember, 2 years back, played in the East-West Shrine game, shone. So they invited him to the Senior Bowl, shone again. So we don't know what's going on there. There has been no other news about what they did with those players. They went from 85 down to 80. Next is they got to cut down to 53. So there's a preseason game on the 29th. The Cowboys play the last preseason game of the season, which is a bit odd because they played the first preseason and they play the last and they play the first regular season game. So a very weird scheduling. By the 31st of August, which is be next week's show, we'll know who the final 53 is because that's when they have to cut down. The only other news then was Donovan Wilson, groin injury. Trayvon Diggs, he's off ill. And as you said, Mukwamu, he's back off COVID. These are updates since we spoke last. But yes, we are going to look at the Houston game, look at the studs and duds on that game, and then we'll get into some 53 talk. But first of all, I'll get your thoughts, guys, on the Houston game. Anything in particular, just in general, over that game that stood out for you guys?
I think the defense is had a storming game. I mean, you consider that the whole game, the points off turnovers, obviously, I think it was 17 points came off turnovers, including the pick 6. You know, everything else. That means we basically gave them a gimme field goal kick to get their. So we only gave up 3 points the whole game from the defense in terms of a long sustained drive. It bodes. I mean, yes, you know that was a quarter. That was almost a half, I think, with the first defense. So you know that bodes well, I think, for the year. And even the sort of second and third strings that we're playing in the second half. I mean, that hopefully gives you a little bit of hope. And it shows that, you know, if Dan Quinn is incapacitated for a long time, Joe Witt, who was another name for the defensive coordinator job, he stepped in quite well. And, you know, I don't think there was much of a drop off at all. So.
Yeah, that is true. What about you, Greg? What just stands out generally, just the general narrative of that game for you?
3 interceptions from Ben DiNucci.
Yeah,
That is a big talking point.
Let's not beat around the bush. He's done. I think he's.
Yeah.
I think there is no chance Ben DiNucci makes the roster.
I agree.
My pet hate with that whole game, I kind of felt as though it was a big, massive experiment going wrong when it comes to the quarterback. I felt there was an unfair distribution towards the quarterbacks. And in a way, I don't know what you guys think, but I thought it was kind of a wee bit unfair on Blaine Gabbert. Gilbert. I can't even bloody say his name.
Garrett Gilbert.
Yeah.
Garrett Gilbert. I'll help you out, mate. I'll help you out.
Right. So it was basically the number of snaps he had. I think it was like 9 total snaps he played.
Mhm.
And I think there was only 1/3 of that was passing.
There
Whereas,
was 5 pass attempts, 3 completions for 30.
yeah, so there wasn't a lot. It wasn't a lot. And compared to Cooper Rush, who was given a more spread out full and quarter as well. Then after that, it was DiNucci was given the whole second half. I mean, if it was me, after throwing out an interception, not one but 2, I would try and get one of the other backups on and see. Okay, I really want to see who really wants this more. Get Gilbert back in or get Rush back in. You know what I mean? But no, we stopped.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There was some nice bits of drive from DiNucci, but there was some really stupid blunders he made, and that's what
the final interception is the final nail for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was terrible.
It was horrible.
The only thing I can think of.
The
only thing I can think of from that is that they kept DiNucci in to see how he would react,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't react well. It's like if you're gonna be the guy, can you shake off interceptions?
The mental game,
and he didn't. To Paul's point, I wouldn't be surprised if you only see Rush and Gilbert in the next game. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Ben DiNucci at all, which will give Gilbert more of a chance to earn his role.
Yeah.
But for me, it's Cooper Rush's job to lose.
Yeah, I mean,
the
talk was that Gilbert was actually yanked from the game because one of the passes that he threw that was incomplete was a throw up in the air and was almost picked off. So that there was concerns about that. There was the stumble back from one of the snaps as well. Which was under center, so it wasn't even a shotgun snap. So you couldn't really blame the center for that. So there was concerns with that. DiNucci, I think he won't be on the 53, but I could quite easily see him still, given another year on the practice squad.
Yeah.
I think
I'm just going to cut you short a minute, Lorne.
Yeah.
We have NFL UK royalty waiting to come in, joining the show all the way from the East Coast of America. We have the legend that is Coach Jeff Reinbold. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm actually in Montreal, Canada. We are playing the Montreal West tomorrow night, and my wife is in town, and so it's a beautiful city. It's a great summer city. So we're going to go out to dinner and after team meetings tonight and enjoy the city a little bit. And then Neil Reynolds is bringing his son to town tomorrow on his way to college.
Amazing.
Nice.
And they're going to be at our game, so it'll be fun to have George and Neil as our guests at the game.
Oh, fantastic.
Maybe you can get his son to throw a few balls around as well. Apparently, last time when we spoke to Neil, he tried taking his arm off.
Well, right now we're not scoring any points, so if it helps us score points, I'll put him in right now.
Well, just to get you up to speed, Jeff, we were just talking about the backup situation in the Cowboys. Now, obviously, yourself coaching American football, should we say for a while, you've had some experience in it, should we say? We know that you're going to come in with a keen eye on this. One of the things we were just talking about is how Garrett Gilbert has pretty much lost the job at this stage, and his Cooper Rush is. Well, really, what it boils down to, I think, for Mike McCarthy is Cooper Rush is better at that dink and dunk short play. Gilbert has the big playability and the bigger arm, but I think when it comes to your backup quarterback, really all you're interested in is for that guy to just maintain possession and end out the game. What's your take on the backup quarterback for the Cowboys?
Well, I think it's really interesting because, we went through the DiNucci experiment last year in Philadelphia, and that we all saw what that turned out to be. Gilbert, I think, is certainly an upgrade from DiNucci, and that's not to say that DiNucci can't play in the league. It's just he hasn't had enough reps. And again, this is why it's so difficult in the league, because there is no developmental environment for these young quarterbacks. Gilbert's a kid that started his career at the University of Texas, then went to SMU and tore it up there under June Jones, but he struggled to find a place in the National Football League, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that that there are just not enough reps to go around, because you're always going to give the practice reps to your starter, and now with only 3 preseason games and no preseason games last year, it's really, really difficult to develop young quarterbacks. I think the Cowboys will keep one on the practice roster. And again, Rush seems to be the guy that will be the backup. Then they're going to have to make a decision. Do you keep the bigger arm, the more talented guy in Gilbert, or is DiNucci? Again, those are questions that staffs all over the National Football League are tearing up this next week, because you better have a succession plan. It's like being a king. There better be a line of heirs coming, because we saw last year what happens. It's a volatile game. It's a dangerous position, and one bad play, and you're on to the next guy. So I really think Rush has had a great camp, and I think he'll be the backup. And then again, one of either DiNucci or Gilbert to stay on as a practice roster guy.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to Garrett Gilbert to give you an idea. I mean, we all know the issues with Ben DiNucci, but this is basically how every drive is finished for Garrett Gilbert this preseason, going from the Hall of Fame to last week. So it's gone field goal, missed field goal, punt, turnover on downs, field goal, fumble, punt, fumble.
That's not a great pedigree. Those aren't great numbers. But it's training camp, and I think that sometimes we can get too caught up on the numbers in those training camp games, plus and minus, right? Because for the defensive coordinators don't spend a lot of time prepping for those games, and neither do the offensive coordinators. They're trying to get ready for the season, and those games are evaluative tools. And the hardest position in football to evaluate, frankly, fellas, is the quarterback. And we've seen, for every Josh Allen, there's a Josh Rosen. And, it's a very difficult position to evaluate, especially because the college game is so much different than the NFL game. So, I'm sure that McCarthy and his staff are going to spend an awful lot of time with this one in the next 3 or 4 or 5 days ahead. And they'll scout the waiver wire real close too, because if they think they can find a guy who's better, there's an old saying in our business, better is better. And so whether you drafted it or not, you go find it. Guys, I got to run to a meeting. Now, are we going to do this next Thursday?
If you want to, next Thursday is in fact the very first show of season 3, and you can have the honor of being the very first guest of being on season 3 if you desire.
Lock me in, because I'd love to.
Yeah, we get 2 doses of Jeff Reinbold. We are lucky.
Oh, fantastic!
Thank you so much.
No worries. Yeah, enjoy. Say hi to Neil as well for us.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care, man.
Excellent.
Thanks,
cheers, mate.
Thanks, Jeff.
Mr. Jeff Reinbold, folks.
Well, that was fun. Yeah. You could tell he's been flying.
Oh man, yeah. No, it's really nice. Honestly, man, the amount of the times he's actually stopped by to give us his time and patience, and it seems to be nowadays he's always somewhere now, whether it's surfboarding, where it's where was he during the 24-hour show? I think he was like
he was at another show.
That's right.
He was coaching. He was there was a downtown league or something like that he was coaching for. So
And they were trying to get him onto a TV show though, because they were calling for him. He's going, "Hold on now, guys. Hold on. I'm with the UK Cowboys."
Honestly, you gotta love Jeff, man. What a guy!
Yeah.
What a guy.
We'll, like I say, we will get him on next week. He's saying he's in. If the guy says he's in, and it will be great. Because we'll be looking at the 53 next week.
He was indeed, DJ Dog. He was indeed, and he was rubbing it in our faces.
Yeah.
Because you could actually hear the actual waves in the background.
And he had that cocktail with the pineapple leaves. Yeah, all right. Do love a bit of Jeff. He is absolutely like I'm not. The people in America might not understand, but he's an absolute legend here in the UK. In what he's done to progress.
For making the awareness of the sport and the development of the sport within the United Kingdom and possibly over Europe as well.
He coached in NFL Europe, yeah,
absolutely. So NFL royalty within the UK.
Yeah, and here he was again, and he'll be back next week. But anyway, guys. What I do is I thought I'd go through some studs and duds. We'll get back on track here. So my studs in this order go Parsons again, Osa, Pollard. What the hell have I written there? Oh, Cox, Neal. I couldn't understand my own writing. Cox, Neal, and I can't make out the last one. I've scribbled it down. I know it's a wide receiver. Oh, it's Lamb. I put LB. I was like, linebacker? Oh, no, Lamb. But for you guys, anyone in particular who really stood out to you during the Houston game? Because this is a dress rehearsal game.
Well, I don't want to say a particular person, but I'm going to say in terms of what I'm going to say for the defense, I'm going to say as a pro or a plus as the defensive aggression. The defensive aggression is definitely took a step up.
And the speed. The speed is definitely
so the speed and the aggression. And that's the thing you really want the most from your defense. The second one.
Well, here we go, Paul. Paul, when we did the show about Dan Quinn being taken on, the first thing we all said is it's going to be a faster defense.
Absolutely.
We predicted it.
We said that. We said that from day one. Yeah. The second point I'm going to say is, and we'll probably talk about this about the Hard Knocks, is Isaac Aracon, of him just absolutely mauling guys in the guard position. I don't know how many pancakes he actually had during that Houston game. I think it was at least 3.
I can check for you.
At least 3 pancakes, just absolutely mauling defensive ends. And obviously, I don't really have much of a third point, but I could say, the linebackers, Cox and Parsons, again, looking fantastic. And that kind of leads up to the whole defensive aggression and speed.
Keanu Neal looked good too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And DJ Dog just left a comment there, Bradley Anae, and that's a name that needs to be well spoken about tonight, I think.
Yeah. We'll circle back to Bradley and I, because he's really complicating my 53-man roster.
I think he is. He's complicating quite a lot of people's rosters right now.
It makes me do this. It makes me rub my eyeball quite hard. But great. Give me some of your duds. Who were the duds in this particular game, in the Houston game? You think fell off?
I'm waiting for this.
I had to ask Graham.
Am I creating the reputation here?
We're not saying that you're the Debbie Downer, mate. You're not the Debbie Downer.
I'll definitely give you 2. I'll give you Ben DiNucci killed his chances. We've talked about that. It was disappointing to see very little from Dorrance Armstrong. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to see him back up preseason week 2 with another studded performance, and he wasn't there. Brian's just brought it up again. Yeah, he wasn't there. If you're going to dislodge Gregory or Lawrence, you need to do more. You simply need to do more, and I don't think he did. Mm-hmm. The dud side. we talked about Rico Dowdle last week. He had a decent game, but he's gone now. So I think we can start talking about Dowdle.
Yeah.
I didn't think. I mean, I have a problem with, and I know he's injured, but I have a problem with Dak going into week 1 having not played. I don't know what you guys think. I just think is he going in cold?
I'm okay.
Is he going in cold, or do you? I mean, we talk all the time like we don't have a top safety like duo for Dak to practice against. They talk all the time about players that hold out during the off season, and then all of a sudden they get their contract. They come into week 1 and they tear something, pull something, pop something, and they're done for the year because they're not football ready. There's definitely a difference between fitness ready and football ready, and I don't know if Dak Prescott is football ready. That's the other thing I would.
Sorry to interrupt, Graham, but DJ Dell once again with a brilliant comment, and this is so true. Houston basically won the game without converting any third downs, and he's right. That should never happen, and the turnovers literally killed us for the game. Like one was a pick six. Am I right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yep. So
we were -4 in the turnover battle.
Man,
you're never going to win a game. You're never going to win a game when you're -4.
The other thing you need to bring up on that point is that there was no Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
There wasn't a Deshaun Watson, so see as you put, and we didn't play against.
Bear in mind, Graham, this wasn't their first stringers as well. These are the same guys as like we should be like in a position where we should be actually taking full advantage of that scenario, but it's just not the case.
That's true. Here's one for you, a dud for me. And it messes up my 53-man roster. I'm more of a dud that it wasn't that he played bad, just that he didn't show enough. Is Simi Foko?
Yeah, I think he's been one of the biggest disappointments within the draft this year. Like, I kind of expected a bit more if I'm to put more of a fight and put more of his name out there, but. We're not seeing it. We're still seeing it from Cedric Wilson. We're seeing it from Malik Turner. We're seeing it from Noah Brown. Those 3 guys are definitely fighting for that roster spot way ahead in Simi. Definitely.
Yeah. And for me, Simi... Go on. You take it.
This is the game for him to have done it because with Malik Turner having the turf toe, which is disabled him slightly, and obviously we've already seen one guy being put on IR for having turf toe. The job was for Hoko's to actually claim, and he just hasn't done anything. He's had passes thrown at him. He's crocodile armed them. He's just not done anything to set himself aside from any of the undrafted free agents that we've brought in. You could quite easily go with some. If you were going 6, you could quite easily go with Malik Turner. Or there's not a lot of drop off between Simi Fehoko and guys like Osiris Mitchell, the other undrafted free agents that we've signed this year that are still on the roster. So he's whether he's come in saying I've been drafted, I'm almost assured of a spot, and he's come in with that sort of attitude rather than coming in being hungry. Is the game too much for him at the pro level? I really don't know what the problem is.
That is a good point. He's making the point for us as well that it's hard to crack this as a wide receiver. If he was a wide receiver and you heard, oh yeah, the Cowboys have just drafted you, you'd just be like, oh, crap.
Yeah, I brought that.
Big shout out to Marcus D. Jones. Just
Marcus,
Bluff
C Cowboys from last week.
I brought up a similar point just after the draft, Mike. That if you're an undrafted wide receiver and you see the Dallas area code come up on your phone, you're not taking that phone call. because 3 of the spots are already hammered down. It's not even a question. So you're competing with maybe 4 or 5 other guys for 2 spots at most. And it just it's a tough nut to crack. The wide receiver position, it really is.
The other one for me, then, Kelvin Joseph. Not a dud. Again, in the same similar idea as Simi Foko, that he just hasn't shown enough. That for me so far, right? Tell me if Kelvin Joseph has shown you he's better than this player. Trayvon Diggs.
Nope.
No. Okay. Anthony Brown.
Nope.
Nope.
Nah, not for me.
I think Anthony Brown's actually had an underrated camp, but he's there's not been a lot of mentions of him in dispatches and everything like that, but he's doing a job, and I think he will be I think he'll be starting opposite Diggs this year.
At least to start off with, 100%.
Yes.
But how the season goes and as he develops is another thing. But is he better than Jordan Lewis? I would say not. Maurice Kennedy.
Kennedy's having a blinder of a
stormer. A stormer.
If Kennedy doesn't make the squad, I'll be asking questions.
We'll all eat our hats.
Yeah.
Mate. Don't you worry about
that. Sorry, Mike. Just before we carry on, I wanted to kind of just like bring up Marcus's question again. I know we'll jump back in again, but he was just asking about the Simi not stepping up. Do you think we're going to step with 5 wide receivers?
That's what I've got on my 53. I've got 5.
Have you? I'm pushing towards 6 just in case for injuries. That's it.
The only one I've got a question mark is against, and because before we started the show, I said I've done my 53-man roster, but it's 50. One of them is Malik Turner. It's my struggle on that one. Do you carry him and see how it goes on?
I think we keep him for one day and then put him onto the IR to return, because you only have to. You can bring them back after 3 weeks. This year, right. You can now bring them after 3 weeks. So who knows what's going to happen down the line. You certainly don't want somebody like that going off to another team, because obviously we pinched him from Green Bay's roster. He'd obviously been with McCarthy at Green Bay for a bit. We pinched him final cut down, and somebody will be looking for a receiver. There's enough receivers going down this year so far in training camps.
Yeah. But here's another one. Is Calvin Joseph better than Nashon Wright than what you've seen so far?
No.
I would have Nashon Wright up.
Nashon Wright well above Calvin Joseph right now.
So there you go. I've just named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just named you the 5 cornerbacks we got, and Calvin Joseph hasn't shown I'm not saying that he's a bad player. I'm not saying that he won't develop to be that next level player, but I'm just saying that right now, to start that season, that's why I've got him in the dud. That I wanted to see more from him, and we haven't seen it.
He'll be on the roster, though.
100%. I'm carrying him. On my 53, I've got him.
Somebody's got to go. Somebody's got to give above him.
Right. The other ones then, we talked about Cooper Rush. Next one I want to talk about Noah Brown. He's made some very difficult catches in the Houston game. Impressive.
Yes.
His blocking ability is another thing that people don't notice, but he can do. But then there's the special teams. So he got a tick in the box for me. Now let's move on to the next guy that we already spoke about, Bradley and I. This guy looked good. Now, we know that Bradley and I, what he's like as a pass rusher, but what impressed me in this game is he set the edge, and he was holding up, and he was getting off blocks.
Yeah.
Impressive.
That's exactly what you want your defensive end to do, is to get off the block straight off the bat and hold, depending if you're on the weak side, hold the containment. If you're on the strong side, then you're actually pretty much want to try and get past your offensive lineman and attack that ball if you're on the strong side.
Mm-hmm.
So, from what we're seeing, like you just mentioned there, Mike, we're seeing the speed, but it's now we're starting to see the things that we didn't really necessarily get to see last season at all. obviously there was no preseason games, and there was like we hardly featured in any reps at all. In the DM, we're actually like we're properly seeing who Bradley and I can be, and for me,
Possibly,
possibly, and I think he will make the squad this time. I think.
As I said, on my 53, I got 50. Bradley and I is one of those other guys where I've got a question mark. But give us your take, Graham and Lorne, Bradley and I, because he's really certainly a guy that last year frustrated Cowboys fans, and this year is doing it again, but for different reasons. Let us know as well at home, guys.
Yeah. I mean, he's got an uphill battle because he doesn't have the measurables that somebody like Dan Quinn is looking for. And there was talk on the way into camp was, he's got short arms, and how's that going to affect the style of defense that Dan Quinn plays? But the last couple of games, okay, he's had the stupid penalty with the helmet to helmet on the quarterback, but he's showing that he doesn't need to have these super long sort of Mr. Tickle arms to get around the offensive tackles. He has the ability to prove it. Again, is it the competition that he's been up against because he's not been with the ones too much? It's been second and third strings, but he's certainly been there. And as we say, he's been setting the edge. I think he's definitely worth consideration. The fact that Dorrance Armstrong, he had that one strong game, but we all said pre-training camp, don't believe the hype on Dorrance Armstrong. And
I still don't.
If Armstrong had shown up in this game, I think maybe you could have expected that he'd solidify the place, but. But Armstrong certainly has a sponsor in Jerry Jones, if nothing else.
That's it.
Does Bradley and I have a similar sponsor in that meeting room when they do come to cut down?
Yeah. So I mean, should we get onto the 53 then, since we're there practically?
Well, before we go onto that, Mike, I've got a couple of more questions coming in. So again, mate, for Mark Carter, once again, mate, thanks for the questions. Thanks for swinging by. For D-Link personally, who are you keeping? A defensive tackle on Hamilton or a defensive end? And Bradley and I, son.
This is where we're up against.
So for me, if I was given the choice, it would be Hamilton. Because
I would go with that.
You know where I'm going to go with us, because our biggest weakness of last year, don't get me wrong, like having Osa is a big win for us. Like he's going to be fantastic for us, but I still want to have that depth for defensive tackle more than defensive end, especially
for the first 4 weeks while Gallimore's off.
Exactly, that's the main reason why.
Yeah.
And the next question is from DJ Dog. Very similar. An A versus Carter for the defensive spot. Basham, I think, is on the team.
I've got Basham on my roster,
What about you guys?
Well, for the first one, I'm going to say with you, Paul, I think Hamilton.
Yep.
But it's one of these situations where, you don't...
tricky.
You don't win your job for the season in week one, and that's it. I think they could... They could very much roll with different guys, pull them off, put them back on again.
You're always interviewing for your job in the NFL.
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, you never know. We could see one start, get demoted or cut, even asked to go to the practice squad, and the other brought back up again. Especially with the injuries at tackle.
Well, take for example, there was 2 players last season that were supposed to be starters, but they were absolute trash.
Oh, that runs deep, Paul. Oh, that runs deep.
I can't think who you're talking about.
I mean, let's start off, right, guys? Let's go to the offense. I've got Dak Rush, Zeke Pollard so far as the early starter. Are we all in agreement because of the style of game Mike McCarthy plays? We're going to go with Nick Ralston as a fullback.
Yes, 100%.
Yes,
100%.
Graham. I think it's even easier now that Dowdle isn't in the mix anymore.
And I think it was DJ Dodd that made the comment earlier. Like, you can play the halfback, you can actually block tight ends and defensive ends as well if it needs to be. So he's got those attributes when it comes to depending on what the play is. So, and that's anything to support our O line when it comes to the pass protection or anything like that. Sign me up. Get him involved.
It's a point I've made for a long, long time. Zeke is your bell cow. You've got Pollard to come in and take relief. When do you actually see the third running back on the Cowboys depth chart, if at all?
Special teams is about it.
You might as well make him a fullback that is a Swiss Army knife.
Just to add on top of that, Graham, remember when we had Keith Smith? UK Cowboys favorite, a fan favorite,
converted linebacker,
and converted from linebacker, played to fullback, and he did a great job. And you saw the impact he did for Zeke's running game, and in terms of helping out with the pass protection. I definitely think we need to bring in a fullback within the team again. A pure natural fullback, even though
Zeke does run better with a guy in front of it.
Absolutely.
It's just a shame that Siwu Alon got hurt his neck, because I mean he would have been your utility back. That he could be the.
He was looking good.
He was looking good.
And he also could have been a halfback in a one-back set as well for pounding the ball. Ralston's more your sort of Walt Garrison. You need a yard, he'll get you a yard. You need 5 yards, he'll get you a yard. So I can see Ralston being there. Jaquan Hardy, I liked him in the Arizona game. I thought he did a good job of breaking tackles. Now,
despite losing their contact lens.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he sticks with the Eric Dickerson, Chuck Muncie look. But mind you, can he get his help on over his glasses? I don't know.
Yeah.
That looked a bit difficult, but
I think the use, like John Kuhn's a perfect example in Green Bay. McCarthy had Kuhn for 9 years, and he was a bit of a cult hero in Green Bay. And I think he certainly wants to use a fullback, and he knows how to use a fullback. So it bodes well for Nick Ralston, I think.
Yeah. Okay, that's the Nick Ralston talk. Wide receivers. Anyone got more than 5?
I've got the 5. I've
got my 5.
Yeah, I got my 5 with Malik Turner in pencil.
Yep.
Because I don't know. There's that. Anyone got more than 3 tight ends?
I've got 3
less.
Tight ends. I've got 3.
Well, we've all got 3, and we've all got the same. Jarwin, Schultz, McEwen.
Yeah. One catch, 25 yards from Jarwin. 100% of his targets. It was only one ball.
Hey,
and of course, it was the seam route. Always play Jarwin with the seam.
It always seems to be the seam route. It's the same with Jason Witten. Like when it came to those big plays for the tight end, it's that seam route.
Yeah,
always.
But the play before as well, where he'd been asked to run block, and it wasn't as bad as Tebow's attempt at a run block.
As I've said to you before, Blake Jarwin's style of blocking, the best way to describe it is falling over slowly. It's the only way to describe it. I don't know how better to describe his style. Right, let's move on to this. This is where, again, I start rubbing my eye because it's complicated. We know our 5 on the O-line is the backups. I got McGovern, Steele, and then the other 2. So Steele's my swing. Then I got, and you're going to hate this, but I'm taking Ty Nsekhe. And then I'm taking Matt Forniak.
Matt Forniak, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's really tough to do. Like, I'm not happy. Like, McGovern, I'm okay with. The only issue I got with McGovern, we found out the reason why they wanted Connor Williams at center and not McGovern, is because we seen it last week in the Houston game that he's He's brilliant at playing left guard. Put him at right guard and it falls apart. He was absolutely awful in there. And I think that's the reason why they put Williams at centre and not McGovern, because they know that when he tries to switch positions, it all falls apart.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like me. I cannot play on the right-hand side. I just can't do it.
No.
Like, some players can do it. They can play both sides, but honestly, when I was playing offensive line, like, it's just the way how my stance was. Like, I just feel more natural, like, especially in pass protection and down blocking on the left compared to
it's
the right.
It's like trying to wipe your ass with the wrong hand.
Yeah. No, as disgusting that may sound, but yeah, I see where you're going with this.
That's the analogy.
Right, not up the arse, though. Anyway.
Anyway, the only question mark I've got up against is Josh Ball, just because we haven't seen anything of it.
Well,
do they know something we don't? So I got a question mark there.
He's going to be put on the injured reserve list or something like that.
I think so too.
And put to the practice squad because he's not really done. He's been non-existent at all. But I will say though, and I think it's something that we need to kind of really seriously discuss about. And I was watching Bluff City Cowboys and Cowboys Y'all last night. Well, early this morning. Sorry. And their special guest, Rika, they had on, and they were talking about the whole international program and how it works. So basically, we are allowed that 17th practice squad member based on the international, no matter what. But if we were to put Aracon onto the 50-man roster,
onto the active, he costs.
Onto that contract agreement now is now void and now becomes a fully functional NFL contract, and we could not go back to a 17th man. It just stays 16 now. So. So they made a really good, interesting talk about that, and I'm just kind of thinking, it's like, you know what, Aracon has been really good mauling people in the guard position. I'm just wondering what if he could actually make that roster.
I don't think he will,
but I'm just saying he might. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, like,
just say Marcus's comment. When did you? Mate, I'll sleep when I'm dead, my friend.
Well, welcome to being in the UK, living off Central Time.
Exactly, mate.
That's what preseason is, really. For all the fans in the UK, preseason is just changing your body clock. That's what it's for. I think for me, I'm gonna put Isaac onto the practice squad because he's still a bit raw, but he has the length, he has the power. He's really strong. You can see that he's powerful. I think he just needs a bit of refinement, and then he's there.
Well, the good thing is he's guaranteed practice squad regardless. Like,
I think he's going on there.
And Marcus can correct me on this if you're still here. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure no other team can sign Aracon based on the international program. But if he was,
I think they can poach him, but only to a practice squad.
I don't know.
They can poach him, but only to an active.
Right.
And if the only other thing for Alarcon is that he has been drafted in the international draft in Canada as well. So the wages aren't the same there. I mean, obviously, I think it's only 80,000 a year that you're earning up there.
80,000 Canadian. That's not a lot of money.
Yeah, no, it's not.
That's not. That's literally like £40,000.
If you hear Jesse Holley ever talk about his time in the Canadian League and everything like that, he was probably almost back to when his mum and dad left him on the doorstep and things like that. If you ever hear him talking on Hanging with the Boys about that sort of stuff, it's stuff that he's still having therapy about. So, but as I say,
Paul. Marcus brought the question up.
So no, as long
he's
as
untouchable.
He's poached the toe. He's completely untouchable unless they take him out of the program. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah. So unless they add him to the active roster, he can stay there. Yeah.
So because the international program, no other team is allowed to poach him because of how the agreement works. So
but they can if they sign him to a 53.
No, not. He's completely untouchable unless they take him out of the program.
Yeah. So make him an active player on the 53.
Right. Okay, yeah. Right, okay. Thanks, Marcus. Thanks for clearing for that, my man.
But is there anybody different from my 9 guys you would change? Is there somebody else you put in there? Would you have Brandon Knight in there, for instance, instead?
Preferably not.
I'm not putting Knight on. I've seen enough of that. I'm happy to leave that where it is now.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Knight has been used mostly as a guard this year. Obviously, having Nzeki and Farniok and what have you, they decided that he was probably best in interior line. And I think, to be honest, he's been a bit of a turnstile this preseason as well. He's not moved in that well and assimilated to the guard position. So I don't see him being around. And Zeki, he's been struggling with injuries. He's no better than Cam Fleming or Cam Irving that we've had the last couple of years. And Stephen Jones was Graham's crying. I know. Stephen Jones was talking about him on 105.3 earlier this week, saying that he is going to provide that sort of veteran depth. But he'll end up the season. He'll go off and sign with another team and make $8 million a year or something like that. Much the same way that the other guys have. But I don't. If anything happens that he's called on for longer than a couple of games or spot duty, I'd have great difficulty. I'd be scouring the waiver wire.
Yeah. I mean, Ball is the only one because I don't know, but I don't think he does it. But let's go the other side, and this for me, O-line, D-line, and safety are the 3 most difficult. Where the last 3 guys I haven't quite decided. The D-line. So for me, this is one of these guys you're not going to like. I got Randy Gregory, tank, obviously. Brent Urban, who's going to be our Swiss Army knife. I have got Dorrance Armstrong making my final 53. For the same reason that you said, Lorne, that he seems to be a Jerry Jones guy, that they just love him. That he disappears in the season. He comes along in the preseason, looks
disappears
great.
in the season. You never see him at all. You see him as sideline.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he just does it, but for some reason, every year he comes back round. Got him starting. Obviously, Gallimore, Osa, then my guy who I think is going to be the big deciding factor on all of this, Quinton Bahama. Then I got Terrell Basham, because I think looking at what's going on in Hard Knocks, that he seems to be like a team guy that people are latching onto and they like. The only guy I got a question mark against, I know you guys have already discussed the Bradley and I Hamilton idea. I've got Bradley and I as a question mark. The reason being is I think special teams.
I think the only one, Basham, I could see, if you're going to keep Bradley and I could see Basham going because...
That's why I've got the question mark.
Yeah, I think Basham, we've seen with Hard Knocks that he's obviously he's been taking the Mickey out of Durney, making himself a bit of a joker with the rest of the guys, getting himself in that way. But again, you've probably seen more of an eye on the field the last couple of games than you probably have Basham. Didn't help that he rolled over on his ankle in the Rams scrimmage. But again, if you're wanting to save a bit of money, then maybe Basham's one of the guys that you do cut and you keep an eye, who's still on a rookie contract. It's difficult to see how that one goes, to be honest.
Can you bring that comment back up again, Paul? He's got... Mark's got 9. McGovern, Farniak. So he has got Alarcon. So that's the only difference between ours there. Is that
I'm telling you, mate? There's quite a lot of people are actually putting.
No. I do. I get that. I totally get the reasons why you would. I just think that he just needs a bit more refinement for me. So I'll go.
I agree.
And you could put him on the practice squad, right?
Yeah, this is what we were talking about earlier. So, for example, if a tackle goes down, you can move. You can move either Zach Martin out to tackle and bring Alarcon in.
Or just say you go with Ty Nseki, right, to start your season off. You put Alarcon on.
Why would you want to start him off?
No, put him onto your active roster.
Oh, right. I thought you meant starting.
No, not starting. Jesus, no. Only because he's got the experience and all the rest of it. And while you're bringing Isaac up, that's what you can do. And once you get to a point where you feel comfortable, you can make that switch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I'm just going to start off with because let's be fair, Ty himself is looking, to me, he looks like a 36-year-old offensive lineman. That's the best way to describe what he looks like. He just looks tired.
No,
but
I think you say he's had it. It looks as though his back is done up. Type of O-line.
He just, mate. I mean, I'm 38. If I was 2 years young and doing that, I mean, like I was already. You know when it's time to start calling it a day when you make a noise sitting down. When you make that,
you've not even got into your 40s yet.
I know.
I've been doing that since my 20s, mate.
Yeah, but that was for other reasons, though.
Yeah.
All right, but anybody got anything different in terms of what you would do? So I mean, and we know Paul Graham. You probably go with what? So you'd have a Hamilton in there if he was to take 9.
Yeah, simply because of the
depth.
Yeah.
Okay,
but it's shaky. It's as shaky as tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as somebody goes down, you're scrambling. That obviously we've had to fix our backfield, and we've had to supplement our linebackers. We can't fix everything in one off season. I get that, but yeah, we're going to have to paper over some cracks at some point, and that's where tackle, defensive tackle, and offensive tackle is where I see the cracks coming first. But again, it sounds like I'm being negative, but every team does that. Every team has to supplement a position. They've got to I mean, that's exactly what the salary cap is there for. So everybody has issues, and but I mean, we're highlighting this because it's a Cowboys show. We're highlighting Cowboys issues, but everybody's got issues. I know that. I get that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's put this in perspective. Do you imagine what the issue is? What the Eagles are going to do with their salary cap in terms of what players they need to cut right now?
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, put that in perspective.
Anyone going to argue with this? Linebacker, Jalen Smith, LVE, Parsons, Neil Cox.
I'm happy with that.
Nah.
Happy with that.
Nah, not necessarily in that order, I might add.
No.
No.
No, and
so
for me,
let's not open that can of worms. We don't want anybody.
We don't want to be crucified by any experts out there.
For me, Cox is the outside guy. He's looked absolutely great. Again, just a little bit of refinement, but everything that you've got there is exactly what you need. He is exactly what the linebacker position is slowly morphing into. That type of player, that off-ball linebacker. Cornerback, tell me if you've got anything different. We've pretty much already named them all, but Anthony Brown, Trayvon Diggs, J. Lou, Morris Kennedy, Kelvin Joseph, Nashon Wright, and of course, you've got to have Goodwin put in there. That's 7 cornerbacks.
You can't carry 7 cornerbacks.
You're going to have to.
My worry is for 2. I have worries for Kennedy. I know he's had a tremendous camp.
Kennedy is the guy I put a little line next to.
Yeah, and Goodwin. Yep. Those are the 2. But obviously, Goodwin
staying.
Special teams.
I think Goodwin's one of Fassel's guys. So
Yeah.
I think his
Absolutely.
position,
100%.
Fassel will want them.
Yeah.
So they'll run with 6, but Goodwin's for special teams, basically.
Yes, yeah. Goodwin, I'm not playing on the field at all, really, as a corner. Although he can do it, I'm not saying he's the worst corner you see in the NFL, because he did do it last year too. He's really only there for special teams. Which brings me to the safety position where... Go on, Paul, before I move to the safety.
I was going to say something in regards to linebackers, and believe it or not, I'm actually going to give a compliment, right? And despite, and we're all guilty over, we've been giving Jalen Smith a lot of stick, and I think quite a lot of Cowboys Nation has, and rightly so. Yeah. But if there's one thing I noticed in that Houston Texans game, he actually was making tackles and coverage in that game.
Yeah.
And that's one thing was like, he doesn't do it, but he actually did do it. So, whether that may be a turn on, hopefully it might be a turn on the new leaf, we don't know. But I want, but just to add on, we do want him to succeed. But we still
you want every Cowboys player to be great.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. And we just want to see if, like, and the main issue is still there is the lateral speed, moving side to side. Because we all know that Jalen is a downward guy. Like going 10 yards down the line and that's it, make the tackle. But when it comes to side, but if he's doing coverage tackles and that and letting like Parsons and that do the work, hey, as long as he's doing the job. But
before we move on from corner, question for three of you and for the people watching at home: is there any way you can see Joseph not making the team?
No.
You think basically we're saying that his contract keeps him in the job,
and that he's one of their picks. If they don't keep him, then they're saying they failed at the draft.
Yeah, it's more of a I think it's more to do with the board saying that we don't want to let him go because it'll make us look like idiots, pretty much.
Yeah, basically.
I mean,
scenario.
Second round pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if all the corners that were still available, I mean, don't get me wrong, like Joseph does have a lot of talent. I think it will take him time to actually get, like, it's not going to be like a Trayvon Diggs scenario where we had to just launch him in there and he absolutely balled his heart out. Different type of corner, I think, different type of style. I'm just I don't know. I mean, he won't make the roster just purely based on draft capital, what we did to get him on the second round, and also based on the contract. So that's the only two reasons.
Here's a good reason why Joseph will make the roster, but also is buried on the depth chart. Is one, he'll make the roster because he's got the athleticism. It is crazy. It's off the charts. He's more athletic than Trayvon Diggs. He doesn't bite on head fakes, which is really, really good. Like, when they sell him, he does not bite. He will make the roster. Totally agree. What was the next point I was going to make about him? The reason why he needs...
That's a fair point. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, look, he will make the roster, 100%. But the reason why he struggles so much is the reason why he was a second-round pick and not first-round pick is he lacks experience. He literally hardly played in college. And that's what it was the same thing Diggs came out with from Alabama, is that he was a converted wide receiver to corner. Yeah, played the one season at corner, which is why he was a second-round pick, not a first. If he was that good, he would have gone in the first and we would have missed him. But he just lacks experience. And that's what he needs to get. Once he gets it, because the guy's got an incredible athletic profile and his back pedal is tremendous. And you've seen it in practice. It's like, I can't remember who was doing it to him. Who the hell was it? Was it Cedric Wilson? Trying to sell him head fakes. He just did not buy. He was just like, no. And he's just looking at it like, incredible. And he's got as well the athletic ability to, if he does make the mistake, catch back up, which is great. But there's just a lack of experience there for him to be able to put him as your cornerback too. Our hope was but now it's gonna. You can't put Kelvin Joseph in on week 1 against the Bucks wide receiver core.
Yeah, I mean, I think we said. I think I said in particular at the start of training camp that Brown would have to play well because of his contract, and I think the reason. One of the reasons he's doing particularly well is because of his contract. He realizes that he could become a cap casualty.
Yeah.
But obviously he's done enough to start, and good on him.
I mean, both Cedric Wilson and Noah Brown. You've seen that as well. That all these guys that we'd signed as well. They were, these guys could have said, "Oh no, I've got a $2 million contract. I've got $1 million 2-year contract or whatever," and
and hide behind it.
Hide behind that. Yeah. They've actually come in and they've said, "No, I've got to make this squad. I've got to make sure I've got it." And I think that's the same with the other guys. Kennedy, who started the camp thinking Kennedy was going to be on this 53.
Yeah,
and he's stepped up. I mean, Christ, if only he hadn't gone on COVID reserve last year. Now, he had his family reasons for why he wanted to go in that COVID reserve, but if he'd been on the squad last year, we wouldn't have had Worley. Maybe that scheme wasn't as good for him or not. I don't know how he would have played under Nolan, but we could have done with him as a cornerback last year, much more so than obviously this year. We seem to have an embarrassment of riches. To get rid of Joseph, though, I mean, that's you're suddenly going from it's about 1.4 million is his cap figure at the moment. If you cut him, it goes up to a 4 million cap hit, because the entire contract for this year is guaranteed, and then you're also accelerating his signing bonus as well. So I mean, that's you're biting off you're basically eating the 1.4 plus another 3 million in cap charge, and it's also spelling to the league that you made an absolute balls up with your 2nd round pick.
Yeah.
So if Kennedy makes the squad, who doesn't?
I think you're taking 7. You're taking your 7 corners, with 1 being a special teamer, and this is the awkwardness about it. And I'm going to try and make. I don't know how. I'm going to try, because the next bit, the safety spot, because then when you look at what I've done, and I don't know if you guys have done the same, when you look at it, you're like, this just looks fucking nuts. And it does, but you're in this predicament because you're trying to make something out of all of this. I mean, because right, let's do it. The safety position. Like, I got these 7 here. One of them is a special teamer, and I'm trying to make one of these into a special teamers as well. So I got Donovan Wilson, I've got Kazee, Curse, Hooker, but the issue is, right, we got Israel Mukwamu, which we know they brought back in, and they even put Rico Gathers on IR to make room for Izzy to come back on.
Rico Dowdle, not Gathers.
Slip of the tongue on that one, yeah. Rico Dowdle. But the issue is you've still got Deontay Thompson there, and he is not going anywhere. And if you look at the last scene of Hard Knocks, who was the player that finished that huddle off? Mike McCarthy specifically brought him in and said, take this team out. It was Deontay Thompson. He's going nowhere. He's going nowhere. I'm telling you.
Darian Thompson, you mean?
Or
Deontay Burton.
I was going to say, who the hell's Deontay?
No. I'm slipping up. Right. Okay. Right. You can give me that look. Damn it. Yes. So you got Thompson, and he's not going anywhere. That they're going to have him on the special teams, which means that you've got your 4 safeties already. Thompson is going to he's going to now come in and be your 5th, which means that Mukwamu, now what are you doing there? Curse has been playing well, because he's been playing well. Wilson's injured, but he's going to be your box safety. because the other three guys we just talked about isn't. And Hooker, you've got him coming in. They're not getting rid of him. Jerry Jones has even said, like, if we had the chance when we would go back, we would have drafted him back then. So Hooker's going nowhere.
Yep. I think Israel might be a casualty.
I think so too.
The one thing that's been talked about recently is that, you know, obviously
he can't play special teams.
Can't play special teams. He's not willing to run down and make a big hit. You know, he's a sure tackler, but he's not one of these guys that's going to go down and try and bust up a wedge or anything like that.
He's
a guy like him. That's what you need.
McQuamo is definitely a see ball, get ball type of guy.
Yeah, but I just and the issue is, I can guarantee you this will happen. That we could put him on the practice squad, or we don't keep him on the active. He gets poached straight away. He gets picked up. Somebody will grab him, and then we've lost out. And it's and I think the Cowboys know that too. It's a tricky one because there's no way you can carry 7 corners, and then we've just mentioned the 4 safeties. Then you're going to put Thompson in, right? Because he's going to be so that's 5 safeties. There's no way you're carrying 6, especially when one of your back end safeties, Israel Mukuamu, doesn't play any special teams.
I mean, just to that point, Mike. See if you're not drafted in the first 4 rounds, right? And you can't play special teams. You don't offer much, do you?
No.
It's like,
well, that's the trouble.
If you're not taken in the first 4 rounds, you should be fighting tooth and nail to get onto an active roster. And the best way to do that is play special teams and come in and play your position when required, whether it be down to injury or loss of form or whatever. But see if if a rookie says, "Yeah, I can't play special teams," you're going, "Well, do you know what? I've got 10 veterans who will. So, see ya."
Yeah.
You know, it's tough, but that's the NFL.
I just got a feeling that you're going to have Quinn go, Wilson, Gazee, Kirsten, Hooker aren't going anywhere. I'm not having it. And Fossil's going to turn around and go, well, I want Thompson. And we all know that the offensive and defensive coordinators have to adjust what they're doing based on what the special teams coordinator says. Because he's going to have his pick. He will have his guys, his 4, 5, or 6 guys, whatever his allowance is. And he's going to go, Thompson, Brown, I think Anai is going to be in there. I've got a funny feeling Armstrong for the same reason. And and he's just going to go, these are my guys. And you're going to get stuff with it. That's 5 safeties you're carrying. It's mad.
Do you not think that Jaron Curse could actually,
I'm not letting him go.
He was brought in as but Curse was brought in as a special teamer. Has experience.
I see where you're going. Yeah.
Do you not make Darian Thompson a little bit an outsider?
I got a funny feeling just based on what I've seen, especially with our Hard Knocks scene at the end, that he's making the cut. He's going to be there again.
It shows that he was at the forefront of McCarthy's mind. I mean, if you're making flash plays and you're in the coach's thoughts, you're in a good place. See, when you're in amongst the crowd and your number's not getting called, that's when you worry.
Yeah, he's been called out, and he got specifically called out to take that huddle and to finish them out.
Another thing I would say on it, in that they've looked at their group and brought Malik Hooker in. So it's like, right, okay, so we had our guys, and then they felt they had to supplement more. So as soon as he walked in the door, all the safeties must have thought, hold on a minute, they're not set here. And basically, I agree with you, Mike. I think if they've brought Hooker in, why bother when you think you've got your guys already?
Yeah. I just think that it's crazy. Then you've got your 3 special teams, Greg, McQuaid and Anger, Greg the Leg, of course. But what I've got is 50 guys. But that's not including, for me, Thompson and Mukuamu, Bradley and I, and another offensive lineman. And that's where I'm stuck. That's where I'm up against. I think this week, put Israel Mukwamu on the field. I think get Farniok and Seki. If Ball, I don't think he's going to be fit enough to play. Get Bradley and I on there. Get Basham on there. This is for my own purposes, by the way. I'm saying this. and Kelvin Joseph as well. Get him on there. And just see what comes out the other end. Just shake that monkey tree.
Yeah. And you never know. Some of these guys might end up, touch wood. You might end up with a little injury, and then you can stash them away again for next year.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, Lorne. I mean, it certainly makes things easier. As terrible as it is, it certainly makes things an awful lot easier. But remember that we've got other players around the league auditioning as well.
As that too.
Because they're not playing for the Cowboys doesn't mean they don't end up in the active roster.
Which is why I think
that's definitely going to happen. We're at least going to bring someone in from
quarterback. It'll be a quarterback. So that I think that it'll be one of the quarterbacks, and it'll just go. He's better than what we've got.
No, I don't. I think it'll be more. I think it'll be more offensive line for the backup.
Offensive line will be a big one. Yeah, offensive line is trouble.
I would say that would be more of a bigger need.
I think quarterback will be looked at. I mean, I don't. Is Cooper Rush has unfortunately he's been injured a couple of times this preseason. He had back spasms one week, and then he had a shoulder issue as well. Maybe that's hindered the backup competition, but I could quite easily see them scouring the waiver wire, and if there's a veteran backup, a bit like Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's obviously not going to get cut, but somebody like that who has the experience can be a sounding board for whoever's on the practice roster as your third QB.
I'm going to side with Mike on this one. I'll paint you a scenario. So to bring in somebody else, we're effectively saying that their third choice is better than our second choice. Because you keep your top two and you bin your third. So I don't know if Cooper Rush is that bad. I expect Cooper Rush to come in and I know it sounds terrible, but manage a game. Don't lose the game.
Don't Zeke turn it over.
Yeah. Get the first downs. Let Zeke do his job, and keep our fingers crossed for the defense. Bear in mind, think about who. So Dak goes out, and I know you can say, well, why didn't that work last year? But you just need Cooper Rush to dink and dunk up the field to get, say, a field goal, keep possession of the ball, run the clock out, and he's got 3 good wide receivers to help him out do it, as well as his tight end core. And like you say, the running backs.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna take the exact same quote that our good friend Nick's Star Gang mentioned. Is like, if that goes down, season's over. That's it.
Yeah, basically.
That's the bottom line, Paul. Of course it is.
So yeah,
of course it is.
That's pretty much where we're at. It's like basically we just make sure that we've got someone at least to kind of steer the boat till that comes back. If he does come back from an injury, like touch wood, that doesn't happen and he plays the whole full season.
We've seen the Eagles do it in the past where they've won the Super Bowl with their backup. Here's my team.
Don't mention them.
Here's my team for this year. The 49ers are stacked at quarterback just now. I think they could go deep into the postseason with either of them, and that
not with Jimmy.
Well, I mean, he can ride on the back of that. He can ride on the back of that defense.
They had the number one defense. Yeah.
They've got the defense and they've got a decent, above average running game. They need.
It's way above average.
Exactly.
That 49ers running.
Exactly. So that's the one exception to if QB1 goes down, that's it. The 49ers are the one exception.
This is an interesting point. Thanks again, Mark, with the comment.
Yeah, I know where he's going.
Yep. So you're basically kind of like, it's more of a protection in a way. Yeah, I can see. I can imagine that.
With the blocking side of it all. But also, I think
absolutely.
Mike McCarthy, he's always carried fullbacks. So that's why I'm going with the Boston.
That's true.
He does like that. But let's finish season 2 off on a happy note. Dak is throwing.
Yes, he's throwing.
Dak is throwing. Yeah. But that is it, guys. We was going to do some Hard Knocks talk.
People aren't talking about the ankle anymore.
No one. Yes. Just so you know, guys, this is the end of season 2. Doesn't mean that it's going away or what have you. We're literally back next week. But all this is going to look slightly different. And
it's not a massive overhaul, but it's just nice new features we're adding into the show.
Yes, yeah. And in the regular season, don't forget, as you can see, we will be on twice a week. That's Tuesdays with Brian and his crew on the post-game show, looking at the game after it's done. That's every Tuesday. And then the pre-game show, that is every Thursday with myself and whoever else. But we will be back next week to start things off. We'll be looking at the 53, seeing how far out we were, which is probably miles out. In that slot.
with Mr. Jeff Reinbold.
Yeah, and Jeff will be joining us, royalty. Do you know what? I'm going to try something else sneaky too. I won't say it on air. I'll see what we can do because it's the start of season 3. All right. So yes, we're back, but there are other things that we're going to get involved with for season 3 competitions, fantasy league for you guys to get involved with. Really simple, but it literally all you've got to say is a few words, and you're in it. You say a couple of words, and you're in the competition.
Well, it should be. Well, I think also we need to do a competition for it, and the only way to enter is by subscribing to the free channels, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube and whatever.
I think everyone who's watching is mind.
Yeah, so, but bear in mind, guys, we'll be posting up a lot of more exciting stuff coming in the next couple of weeks as well.
And there's some Cowboys experience news coming up as well. I spoke to Barry today. Yep. That's really good. And talking of that, if you're going to a game, make sure you book it through Cowboys Experience. They have their game day tickets, stadium tours, and their tailgate parties. You guys will not want to miss them. And, of course, make sure you tell them that UK Cowboys sent you, because by doing so, what happens, guys?
You get free stuff.
It's as simple as that. But, yeah, I spoke to Barry today. He's excited. He can't wait.
Should we also mention regards to our plans of our own merch store as well?
Oh, yes. That will be coming up too, where we will be doing our own merch. So all that, because believe it or not, what we're streaming on costs money, and all the stuff, all the giveaways, the competition stuff that we do, that costs money too. So we'll be doing our own merch where you guys can get involved, and there's some mugs, stickers, hats, all the rest of it. Yeah, nice, easy stuff. But just so you know, anything you guys put in, it's all not non-profit. Literally, we could show you receipts where you can see whatever the money that you're putting in is going back into this.
It's going back into this. It's for the reinvestment of the stream and try and make this show much better for you guys. So that's where it's all money going towards too.
We are the complete opposite of anything else you can think of. We literally aren't in it for any money. I know I'm not.
No. We'd still be talking if nobody was in this. We'd still be talking. We maybe putting it on YouTube, but we'd still be sat around chatting.
Mate, it was like season 1, wasn't it? It was like we're talking to like 13 people. It would have been easy if we just phoned those 13 people up and be like, "Oh yeah."
Sometimes I'm still talking when you guys have all gone.
Yeah, we've all been there, mate.
Mr. Mendoza with a late comment here. Yeah, we're just about to finish up, my friend.
But we'll see you next week, and we've got a special guest joining us. So join us next week, 9 p.m., which is
6 p.m. No, sorry, 5 p.m.
I got it. Got it.
You've got it. Yeah.
There it is, look, right there.
Yeah.
So, go on. What was you going to say, Mr. Paulius?
I'm just getting mixed up with my time zone. So yeah, 9 p.m. UK,
There
4
it is,
p.m.
man.
Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. So this
And
is
then in this season.
So this is the season schedule, ladies and gentlemen. Every Thursday is the pre-game, and every Tuesday is the post-game.
Easy as
check
that.
it out.
But I'm going to let these guys finish off the show by just saying one thing to close off my season 2 bit. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, because you are our MVPs. Like, I would be talking to these guys regardless, but we do it on a stream. You invite us into your homes. You join in. You give us the time, and we love you for it. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us on the 24-hour live show where we raise money for charity too. Thank you very much for everybody for that. But I'm going to let these guys finish off the show, and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks again, guys. Thanks for swinging by, and all the best, and go Cowboys.
Yep.
See you next time.
Have a good week, guys, and we'll see you in season 3.
2 weeks to the season. 2 weeks.
Yeah, baby.
See you later.